The New York Yankees are one of the most accomplished franchises in all of sports, and if you're a baseball fan, chances are you don't like them. Their identity consists of spending loads of money and winning championships. In baseball, dynasties are not common, as seen with the past 20 winners of the World Series. Sure, you'll see some repeated names, but no one is winning back-to-back championships. But when you go past the year 2000, you'll see something a little different. Here we have one of the Yankees' many dynasties, this one being the most recent. But you could also dig a little deeper and look at playoff appearances. You'll find out that since 1995, the Yankees have made the playoffs 21 out of 25 times. 20 out of 25 if you don't count the wildcard loss in 2015. If we look at the beginning of this 25-year run, we find the emergence of a group of players known as the Core Four. We'll talk about these guys later, but these four players were key contributors to the Yankees dynasty of the late 90s. However, the butterfly effect played a major role in all of these players' careers. All of this success would have been erased without the removal of a certain team executive, George Steinbrenner. Before we get into the story, I want to thank this comment for the inspiration behind this video. So if you have your own butterfly effect scenario you want me to cover, leave it down in the comments. My name is SportStorm, let's get into the video. This story starts in 1972. George Steinbrenner was the CEO and chairman of the American Shipbuilding Company. At this point, the company's gross sales were reaching as high as $100 million annually. As you can see, Steinbrenner was quite the wealthy man. However, he wanted to enter the professional sports world. Apart from owning a short-lived basketball team known as the Cleveland Pipers, Steinbrenner was inexperienced in the sports world, but he was ambitious and had deep pockets. At this point in 1972, the Yankees were owned by the conglomerate CBS. Although the team had not made the playoffs since their World Series win in 1964. The season before, CBS purchased the team. This 8-year period was the longest the Yankees had gone without playoff baseball since the 1910s. On January 3rd, 1973, CBS sold the Yankees to a group of investors led by George Steinbrenner. It became apparent pretty quickly that Steinbrenner was not your typical owner. He was quite the hands-on owner, most notably with his facial hair policy. Also, he had quite the revolving door when it came to managers and general managers. Between 1973 and 1990, a period of 18 years before Steinbrenner's notable banishment, the team went through 13 different general manager tenures and 19 different manager tenures. Funny enough, Billy Martin had 5 different tenures as the Yankees manager during this period. All of this does show the impatience of Steinbrenner's ownership style. However, between 1976 and 1981, the Yankees reached the World Series 4 times, winning in 1977 and 1978. Something that Steinbrenner did before anyone else was throw large amounts of money at free agents to play for his team, as he believed in the mantra that you have to spend money to make money. The Yankees were the first team in baseball to realize the potential of free agency. If you bring in star players with huge contracts, you can create a lot of fan interest and media attention. After Oakland A's pitcher Catfish Hunter was released in 1974, the year he won the Cy Young Award, he signed with the Yankees on a 4-year deal worth $2.85 million, an unheard of salary at the time. The Athletics paid Hunter $100,000 in 1974 for a Cy Young season. In 1975, the Yankees paid him $640,000. A couple of years later, the Yankees signed Reggie Jackson to a 5-year deal worth $2.96 million. But the signing that matters the most to this story is the 1981 signing of Dave Winfield to a record-breaking 10-year contract worth $23 million. The signing of this contract would be the catalyst for the future of the Yankees franchise. After the 1981 season, the Yankees had lost the World Series. Steinbrenner, always in win-now mode, traded for Bob Sykes, a young pitcher from St. Louis, who ended up not playing a single game for the Yankees. In this deal, the Yankees would part with Willie McGee, who became the NL MVP a few years later. Okay, maybe this is just an unlucky trade. Everyone has them at some point, some worse than others. But in 1982, the Yankees notably traded future All-Star Fred McGriff in a deal for aging reliever Dale Murray. Later, they traded young starting pitcher Al Leiter for aging outfielder Jesse Barfield. And they also traded future All-Star Jay Buhner for veteran DH Ken Phelps. In short, Steinbrenner had a knack of trading young, promising talent for aging veterans. Not to say that there weren't any good trades, but this shows that Steinbrenner was aggressively impatient. Now we look at Dave Winfield. By the mid-1980s, the Yankees were finishing their seasons with some great records, but no playoff appearances. Winfield was above average, but not the superstar talent that Steinbrenner commanded. As a result, Steinbrenner would criticize Winfield every chance he got, famously claiming that the Yankees needed a Mr. October, not a Mr. May. The two did not have a great relationship. In fact, their relationship was a key factor as to why Winfield was inducted into the Hall of Fame with a Padres hat rather than a Yankees hat. Steinbrenner repeatedly tried to trade Winfield because of his large contract. However, Winfield would veto these trades using his 10-5 rights, which are given to players who have been in the league for 10 years and have been a member of their current team for 5 years. I'm sure out-of-the-park baseball players know the pain Steinbrenner was going through trying to move Winfield. This leads us to 1990. Steinbrenner was indefinitely banned from day-to-day management of the Yankees by Commissioner Fay Vincent, as Steinbrenner was caught paying a gambler $40,000 to dig up dirt on Dave Winfield. Funny enough, Winfield was traded to the California Angels 2 months before this banishment. With Steinbrenner gone, this is where the franchise was able to turn a new leaf. The team hired Gene Michael as the new general manager, and without Steinbrenner constantly in his ear, he was able to get to work on his own terms, something that the previous GMs didn't have the luxury of doing. Michael proposed a philosophy of patience and letting the young players develop with playing time. He understood how bad and misguided the Yankees were at this point. At a time when batting average and home runs were the priority, Michael looked at on-base percentage. The Yankees had the league's worst on-base percentage in 1990. Michael told reporters, "We have too many 7 or 8 pitch innings, and we are back in the field. We are making it too easy for them. We are the easiest at-bat in the majors. That has to change." One of the most notable trades Michael made was trading Roberto Kelly, a young but free-swinging outfielder. In return, the Yankees got Paul O'Neill, who was a bit older than Kelly, but he knew how to get on base, and he became a 4-time All-Star with the Yankees. But most notably, this trade allowed young center fielder Bernie Williams to receive the starting center field job. Steinbrenner repeatedly attempted to trade Williams, but Michael liked him because, in the words of famous baseball mind Brad Pitt, he could get on base. But he was also a talented fielder, hitter, and was actually under the age of 25. Williams credits Michael as a big influence in his career, saying how Michael always supported him through his ups and downs. So, Michael got rid of the players prone to striking out in favor of players who can get on base. He also signed Buck Showalter as the team's new manager, who increased playing time for young players. Michael also preached patience when it came to prospects. There were 4 players that were a major part of that Yankees dynasty that may have been traded if Steinbrenner was running the show. These 4 players are known as the Core 4. Andy Pettitte and Jorge Posada were both drafted in the late rounds of the 1990 draft. By 1995, they were both noteworthy prospects, which also means that Steinbrenner tried to trade them on multiple occasions. But Michael wanted Steinbrenner to stick with what they had. Mariano Rivera was signed as an amateur free agent in 1990, and he was also called up to the major leagues in 1995. And yes, Steinbrenner did try to trade him, notably for shortstop Felix Fermin, but Michael convinced Steinbrenner to stick with a young shortstop named Derek Jeter. Although it is important to note that when Jeter was in the big leagues, Michael was not the general manager. Derek Jeter was drafted at number 6 overall in the 1992 draft. In 1991, the Yankees were a bad team, but they were on a path towards improvement. However, if Steinbrenner was in charge in 1991, it's possible he makes a big signing or trade for short-term success, which would have put the Yankees towards the middle of the draft, where they would miss out on Derek Jeter. Some notable free agents in 1990 and 1991 include Darryl Strawberry, Kirk Gibson, and Bobby Bonilla. And they were on the older side, so you can make a case that Steinbrenner would have gone after at least one of them. Michael's change in philosophy with his hiring in 1990 allowed the team to embrace their mediocrity in pursuit of younger talent. At first, Steinbrenner was skeptical of Jeter, but a 1996 Rookie of the Year campaign definitely changed his mind. Not only did Michael create a young foundation of prospects, but this foundation allowed the team to feel comfortable to make big acquisitions, like Wade Boggs, Jimmy Key, and David Cone. These players were into their older years, but because the Yankees actually had a young foundation, they could afford to take some risks. What did these signings lead to? Well, they led to a 1995 season where the Yankees made the playoffs for the first time since 1981. Also, Bernie Williams, benefiting from a general manager actually believing in him, led the team in WAR and was second in OPS+, behind another Gene Michael acquisition, Paul O'Neill. In 1996, the Yankees won their first World Series since 1978, led by Andy Pettitte and Mariano Rivera, who ended the season second and third in Cy Young voting, respectively. Also, the team had a Rookie of the Year Derek Jeter and great seasons by Bernie Williams, Wade Boggs, and Paul O'Neill. The Yankees made significant acquisitions in 1997 with David Wells and Tino Martinez. They actually nearly traded members of the Core Four for these two players a couple of years earlier. Pretty crazy what patience can inevitably lead to. 1997 was a division series loss, but 1998, 99, and 2000 were all World Series victories, as all members of the Core Four were foundation pieces in these teams, as Posada became an essential player in 1998. The dynasty came to an end after their heartbreaking loss in 2001, but the effects of Michael's tenure as GM would continue for years to come. During the World Series years, Michael was not the GM. He resigned from the role after the 1995 season and became a key member of the scouting department. Steinbrenner came back from his banishment in 1993, but Michael continued to stick with his way of thinking, much to the frustration of Steinbrenner. Michael was successful when Steinbrenner came back because of his unwillingness to give in to his boss's demands. That's what separated Michael from the previous GMs that Steinbrenner overruled. As a result, Steinbrenner saw the value in Michael as he valued his expertise the most, and he also trusted Michael's loyalty to the organization. The role of Gene Michael as the architect of the late 90s Yankees begs a few questions. Without the Core Four and successful veteran acquisitions, do the Yankees trade for Alex Rodriguez? Maybe he ends up with the Red Sox instead. If Mariano Rivera was traded to another team and he remained a starting pitcher, does he ever become the legendary closer that he's remembered as today? Another interesting question deals with current Yankees GM Brian Cashman. Cashman rose through the ranks when Michael became general manager. In 1992, Cashman became the assistant GM, a role he would stay in until 1998, where he was promoted to general manager. Cashman had been in the Yankees organization for a few years before 1992, and we know that Steinbrenner values trust. So did Michael's choice of Cashman as assistant GM allow Steinbrenner to feel more comfortable in hiring him as his general manager? It's hard to say, but his time as assistant GM did lead to his current role as the Yankees GM, a position where he has seen 18 playoff berths and 4 World Series titles. Not a bad resume. Michael was appointed as GM of the Yankees right after Steinbrenner's banishment, and if that hadn't happened, chances are that Steinbrenner continues his day-to-day operations. The banishment allowed Gene Michael to transform the future of Yankees baseball, which led to the late 90s Yankees dynasty and consistent playoff berths. Maybe some non-Yankees fans would have preferred to see Steinbrenner not be punished, so he would potentially continue to be stuck in his old ways. But the butterfly effect allowed the Yankees to drive their franchise into a direction that shaped their recent history. And I'm sure that Yankees fans will be happy to hear that. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you did. Leave a comment on your butterfly effect scenario. Subscribe to Start Raving Sports and to my channel, SportStorm. Thanks for watching.
And I don't know just how I'm on that wave now. And she don't know just how I'm making paper. She just wanna see me in the day now. But I'm making moves, so we chillin' in the late nights. Late at night, yeah, we chillin' in the late nights. Late at night.